he's not on here. So we're live. So we'll wait for the audience to build up. So where are you playing? Which course?
Wentworth.
Oh, wow.
I was stupid enough to say, yeah, I can play, but I'm not. I have been honest that I've not played in over a year. Yeah. My golf clubs are probably gathering dust somewhere in a garage that we hire to put a load of the property maintenance bits and pieces in. So they've probably been used by the handyman to knock a nail in or something now. So I'm going to try and find those a bit later. So maybe go to the driving range once. So I do. Good. I think the handicap, if you've got like a handicap of 20, is that you can get an extra 20 shots per hole.
Yeah, especially for Michael, you're going to need them. He's very competitive.
Yeah, I'm competitive, but when I've got a chance in winning.
Well, tell him you're a 56 handicap
per hole.
Per hole.
I don't think they know what they let themselves in for.
And Wentworth is a lovely course. I remember years ago, I think it was my first or second job, I got asked to a golf tournament with investment agents.
Oh yeah.
And they said to me, Stephen, what's your handicaps? I said, oh, I haven't really played for that long. So, I can hit a ball and that's about it. So they go, I'll give you the maximum handicap you could get. The first hole I chipped in from 60 yards. That was 6 Stapleford points. Yeah. After 13, I was on 13. After 3 holes, I was on 13 points.
Yeah.
After see, I told you Andy will be the first comment.
Yeah.
Going so low now. I'm redundant, clearly. No, not at all, Mr. Overman.
No.
So I had 13 points after 3 holes. By lunch, I had 29 points. He said, Stephen, I think you're a bandit. And he put me down, and we ended up doing. I think I scored 48 points.
Yeah.
And I won a lovely trophy. I won a Jeroboam of champagne, and it was incredible. So, right, enough about golf. So, welcome Luke Sinclair, Andy Overman. Really sorry you couldn't make it today to be with us. Not really. So, Andy, Sunday, hopefully, if you've got good Wi-Fi, we'll see you then. Hi, Paul. Thanks for joining us today. And if you're watching this, thanks very much for joining us. Give us a like, give us some shares, give us some loving. I'm here with one of my partners in crime, Mr. Sinclair, who we're going to go different way from the Estate Agents podcast. We want to learn a little bit about Luke Sinclair and his story, and how you got into agency, and then why you feel training is so important. So, Luke, for everybody who doesn't know you, which I'm sure is a rarity, especially as we were in Australia together, and we were in where were we? Surfers Paradise,
the Chucky Doll House.
Yeah, the Chucky Doll House. But I remember 11 o'clock in the evening, you getting stopped in Australia by somebody goes, I know you. You go, no, you don't. Yeah, I know you. You're Luke Sinclair. And go, how do you know that? I've been watching your videos. So that's what's incredible. That we talk about video later, but it just shows the power of video. That 2 years ago we were away, and 11 o'clock in the evening you get recognised. So apart from everybody else, and you've got a big fan here, Michelle, sending you loads of kisses already. Luke is fab. Andy Overman.
We normally keep the kisses to our private DMs. Me and Michelle do.
Oh no, it's all coming out now.
Yeah.
Shocking. So who's Luke Sinclair? What's your story? How did you get into agency, please?
Well, the video, just very quickly on the videos. Videos also has benefits locally as well. So I went to pick up a new phone from the Apple shop, and the lady knew who I was before I even gave my name, and I thought it was because they got this smart technology where, like with Bluetooth or something. She said, "Oh no, it's because I see your videos. You're an estate agent, aren't you?" So it does have its perks. So you get your VIP treatment in the Apple shop sometimes. So, but me, it's not the most exciting stories, but as I think most people did, they fell into a state agency. I don't think many people wake up or finish school like a lot of school leavers maybe today and last week and say, oh, you know what, I'm going to become an estate agent. And if they did, fantastic. But mine was pure accident. Weekend job, a local countrywide office called Spencer's in Wigston. I was previously doing bread and cake at Sainsbury's, so the most fabulous bread and cake aisle throughout the whole of Sainsbury's, I'm sure it was. That was my baby. But no, worked weekends whilst juggling a full-time degree course at the Montfort University and a full-time job during the week, just looking after computers. And then ended up working part-time over here at Knightsbridge, then went on to full-time at Knightsbridge, doing sales negotiation whilst finishing off my degree. They allowed me to go out and finish off my degree, doing the 16 hours a week, and then ended up lettings manager. That was in 2005 through to 2013, grew the lettings department, at which point the business owners at the time then sold that business to Countrywide, as what a lot of business owners have done.
Green and Co did the same.
Yeah, they certainly did, and they made a complete hash of taking over the lettings portfolio, as I'm sure they've done, because I don't think they truly understood what they were buying. That's just my opinion. I'm sure they'll argue differently, but they didn't understand what they were buying. They didn't understand the area that they were going to operate in, and as a result, that office that they opened in this area has closed down. So obviously demonstrates that they didn't know the market, because the market can survive, or agents can survive in our market. But and then so I went on to become sales manager and valuer for one of our branches. And then 2015 was when I became part owner and shareholder of the business. And 2015 was when I took responsibility for running the business and taking it to where we are today.
Wow.
So that's a whistle-stop tour of my 19 years in estate agency.
So really, you like the company so much, you're the Victor Kayam, that you ended up buying a share in it.
Absolutely. If you cut me in half, I'd be green and gold inside. So eat, sleep, breathe, estate agency, helping people, helping local landlords, vendors, just get a real thrill and buzz from it. And recently we've been doing some interviews, and one of the interviewees, I think we touched on this on the podcast, was they actually asked me what buzz do I get out of the job that I'm doing. And that young lady is joining us as a what will be a valuable team member on the 1st of September. But they're very good, and it's the first time someone that I've interviewed has actually asked me that question.
Fantastic. That's great. So it must be really fascinating, actually, because you can see you've gone from literally the start, being a T-boy, to actually running the business. So throughout your journey, what lessons have you learned?
If you don't do something well, it comes back to haunt you. And again, I take a lot of inspiration from personal service and customer service. And that's what we've built our lettings portfolio and book up by, in terms of that those landlords would be on first term names. We would know about their families. We'd know about what kind of makes them tick, what it is that they're looking for in their property, because not all landlords want to maximize rent. Some landlords want to have good capital growth, and some landlords are accidental landlords, so they just want the property looked after and cherished because it was once their family home. So I took a lot of great and it was a big hurt to see that kind of baby that you kind of grown since 2005 go. But yeah, absolutely, just seeing how everything's changed, but also seeing how decisions that are made by bosses influence the foot soldiers. Let's say foot soldiers at the minute. So what the generals kind of say down to the foot soldiers and what they do, even if it's down to little tokens of appreciation, just by saying thank you, just by maybe giving them a pat on the back, or even if it's just like, here's an afternoon tea voucher, or here's a spa day voucher to go off. You've worked really, really hard. You've been coming in an hour and a half early for the past God knows how many years, and it's not expected, but it's been acknowledged, and here you go, kind of thing. Even down to people's birthdays and kind of celebrating that. Maybe a handwritten card or a voucher so they can go out and enjoy their birthday evening with their partners and with their families. So so that's the biggest thing, is to try and show that appreciation, because if you've walked in their shoes, then you know what it's like.
Okay, and I think you're amazing, what you do for your colleagues, for your foot soldiers, and and I know we spoke about this before, but in the lockdown they were incredibly grateful, for what you had done by actually thanking you and giving you a gift, which is lovely and shows how well thought of and how appreciated your staff are. And I just want to touch on something you said about knowing names of people and the cards, and been listening to about Alex Ferguson. So yeah. Alex Ferguson and what he did when he was trying to get players to come to United, and literally he knew the first names of the parents. He knew exactly what they did for a living, and he made that his job to know. And then I was listening to the High Performance podcast this week, and they had Phil Neville on, who was, previous United, Everton, Valencia, and England women football manager. And they've got a hotel in Manchester. And I was talking to this about Andy as well on the phone, and how you could incorporate it in your processes. And they were saying that, say, you come up from Leicester to stay in that hotel. So the welcome will be, hi, Mr. Sinclair, how was your journey from Leicester? And again, it's just those little things that make a massive difference, and I know you're massive with those little things.
Definitely. The whole personalisation, you don't get rewarded, and you don't get. We are in this. Anyone's in business to earn a living and to make money, and it's then what you can then do with that money to help improve people's lives and environment in the office, and employ people and create wealth that way. But as a generalist, you can't achieve those kind of goals. Whereas a specialist, and the specialist is where the rewards come, and it's the whole kind of GP consultant specialist scenario. A GP is great at their job, but when you've got a serious problem with, say, your knee or your back, you don't go to your GP to get it usually fixed. You want to go and see the consultant, the specialist, and that's what we want to be.
Okay, and you certainly are. So I want to touch on your travelling and your learning, especially as this is all about lunchtime learnings.
Yeah.
So you've been over to ARIC 3 times. I know you would have been 4 this year. You've been over to, we were in San Francisco in November, which feels years ago, at the NAR conference. I know in August of the same year you were at Tom Ferry. Yeah. You have Josh Fegan as a coach. You have other trainers, Julian Dell, I know you get into your business, some other trainers as well. Why have you gone on this journey, literally thousands of miles journey, to self-improve and learn?
So you've got to look around, and the whole success leaves clues. So look at who's successful in what you're doing. So like when you're growing up, it's like, for example, my son. So when my son was growing up and he'd want to play computer games, he would watch hours and hours and hours on end on YouTube, all these people playing games. And like when kids want to play football, they watch what the professionals are doing. So that was the whole purpose, is let's see what we can learn from the professionals, because we don't know it all to start with, but we can basically rip off and duplicate it. So and kind of copy and cut, or cut and copy. So that was the whole purpose. In Australia, as we know, are kind of leading the way in terms of client care, the way that they're commanding the fees. They don't just get 2% fees or 2.5% fees. They have to actually work for it. They don't just walk in and get everyone signed up. So what is it that they're doing in order to get that? So, and by each trip, you never implement absolutely everything because you can't. But there's 1, 2, 3 key things that if you do it consistently well, will transform your business, and then but also you can bring it back and share it with others.
So, I agree. Implementation is massive, and actually one of the biggest things I took away from Australia is, and I loved Eric and I enjoyed it, but when we actually went and we met the speakers, we met the agents.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I remember that I learned was specifically the negotiating skill. And then I wish I had that negotiating skill when I was an agent, because, I've got a firm belief that now I would be worth 2.5% just by demonstrating that negotiating skill. So I suppose the point is, doesn't matter how old you are, but, if you're always willing to learn and improve, there are so many fantastic ideas out there. And it's then actually coming back and implementing them. So, I know obviously Sean Adams, Matt Nicol, massive implementers. You're a massive implementer. For people that are watching this, that struggle with implementing and taking action, what tips can you give people?
I think you can get overwhelmed, can't you? When you go to a course, or you go to, say, a Julian, you have Julian in, or you go to one of his courses, or you're listening to Lunchtime learnings or something like that, and you think, I've got all these ideas, and you kind of then just get paralyzed by all these ideas coming at you. Just pick one that really excites you the most. Because the one that excites you the most is the one that you're likely to want to implement and to stick with. So pick out that sexy one, that first one that you want to run with, and pick it up and diary some time and schedule it in your diary to make sure it gets done. But when it's done, communicate it with your team as well. So that would be the best bit of advice with it. And where possible, just try and use technology to enhance it. As well, there's loads of tools out there like Zapier, and if your current CRM isn't the best, you can still use things like Zapier to achieve what you want it to do.
Okay, so for anybody who doesn't know what Zapier is, would you like to share that?
So Zapier is basically like a translator. So it basically allows you to talk to all different applications. So it'll allow things like an email, you receiving an email, to actually do something with it. So let's say, for example, you just want to set up a really simple, what they call Zap. So you get your Rightmove lead in, it can extract the telephone number. So let's say it extracts the mobile number, and you want to send a text message though it's come from yourself to say, thank you very much for your inquiry on Jones Street. I'm just in appointments in a minute. I'm going to get back to you as soon as possible. And you can have that text set up, and you can have that done within 10-15 minutes. And it can either come from a random number, or you can have it programmed so it looks like it's come from your mobile number. So when they reply, they start then engaging with it. That's just as an example, or sending out questionnaires or confirmations or something like that. But there's you just got to dream it, and then you can achieve it.
Okay, and you've put together your own CRM system previously.
Yes.
And you're now gone to Salesforce. And how have you found that?
Superb. So 2001 is when we first had our own CRM system, and we've literally just retired it in the 6th of April this year. So
that must have been tough for you.
Yeah, it was like, it was older than my son. I mean, my son's just been to pick up his GCSE results today, so he's 16.
And did he get the results he wanted?
He did extremely well. So very proud of him. So he's with his mum at the minute. I think they're going for an Indian, but yeah, he did extremely well. So he's been able to go on to where he wants to go on to.
Brilliant. Well done, Jack.
So, yeah, no, it was a bit of an emotional moment, but in a softy way. But we've gone with something now, which is Salesforce. So number one's world's best CRM. We're using a platform called Property Base, and I know there's a lot of interest in the UK market to go onto something like Salesforce to help you customize it to how you want it to be, because it gives you that flexibility. And I know there's things like Agent Hub out there, and there's pros and cons for each one. But yeah, absolutely brilliant. The team are loving it. Yes, there's tweaks. I'm sure if someone ran them up randomly, they'd list a load of faults with it. But I think there's faults with every CRM, and you just got to iron them out. But yeah, I mean, one of the valuable things is that we now send a little questionnaire survey after every market appraisal. So the following working day, that goes out in a nice, and David Mintz won't mind me saying, nice, sexy looking form. You couldn't work out how a form could be sexy, but trust me, type form is a sexy looking form. 7 or so questions, which if anyone wants a copy, Stephen, I'm happy to share that with your listeners or watchers. If
That's
anyone wants a copy of that.
So if you'd like a copy of that, if you put yes in the comments section, Luke will send it to me and I will pass it on to you. Thank you, Luke, for your generosity, as always.
So we ask a series of questions, and then that information gets fed straight back in against their market appraisal record, so it's permanently there. It's done on a grading system, so equally, so part of this process is how did they like the booking in process, or how did they rate the booking in process, because then we can maybe average out whoever booked it. We can look at their scores, so part of your appraisal process. But then what can we improve upon? And it's those things we want to look at, those bits that we can improve upon. And it's not to beat people with a stick, because we don't live in a perfect world. But if the same consistent things keep coming up, then it's that whole definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and again and expecting a different result. So if maybe you have got a value that is getting the same consistent, they couldn't demonstrate the fee, for example, then it alerts you that you need to do that training. And that kind of feedback is like gold to any business, and to hear it from a customer, because they're probably more likely to prepared to put it down in words rather than speak about it. And that all gets shared on Slack with everyone, so it's completely transparent, the good and the bad. And so we just recently launched that, and it's highlighted a good few kind of training issues. So we're addressing some of those training issues tomorrow. So we've got a 8 a.m. Zoom with an Australian to kind of go over a few of those. And yeah, but that's an example of what we could do with the CRM, and that took, with Zapier and things, that probably took about 2 hours to knock up.
Brilliant. Okay, so Michelle says yes, Abigail yes, Shell yes, Harry yes, Anthony yes. So I will organise all of that on one condition: you've got to like this and share it to 3 other people, and get
Absolutely.
3 other people to like my page. That's a condition. Okay. So no, I'm not joking, but I am joking. I will get those sent to you. So thank you, everybody. So I want to touch back on the training, and I want to go back to to Australia and Tom Ferry, and also the NAR. You've most probably seen the world's best agents and heard them speak. And, for me, Tom Ferry is the most unbelievable real estate trainer. And if you're watching this, definitely Tom Ferry's got a podcast. He's got a web page. Go and subscribe. The podcasts are exceptional. He's got some great guests as well. There's some great stories on there, and again, what I love about it is free. It's great content, and also, more importantly, it then comes back to what you do with it once the information. So Abigail, maybe that's what I was doing to read your mind, so I'm trying harder to read what the next question is from Abigail. So let's start with Tom Ferry, and also what I love, you rewarded your colleague. So, when we went to, I think with Tom Ferry, you took Jake out there from memory. When we went to NAR, you were kind enough to take Rade and Glenn. So, to reward your staff as well, show something about you. It was a pleasure spending time with them, especially
Even
Rade.
Rade's stories.
Rade's stories, his dad. Okay, but we don't want to bore all our viewers now about those stories. Yeah. But let's start with Tom Ferry. What did you learn from Tom, and what was that all about?
So Tom, I think he kind of highlights the fact about positive energy. I think any interaction you have with Tom Ferry, in terms of if you watch his videos or listen to his podcasts or meet him in person, again, he that's what he's like in person. So me and Jake were fortunate to coincidentally cross paths in the gym. It wasn't planned in any way.
Oh yeah, you and Tom in the gym, 5 o'clock in the morning.
It was something like that as well. So, but what you see on his videos and what you see, that he doesn't need to rehearse. That's what he's like, and he kind of practices what he's preaching. So, I think energy is a key thing, and consistency is doing things consistently and putting yourself out there on a pedestal to not do the normal convention. So things like doing podcasts, things like doing videos, but it's the whole consistency thing that's going to win. And I think that there was one thing, he did a great speech, and this will be, I'll try and find the link out for you, but it's an analogy around rowing. And it's very relevant, and it's been very relevant from what we've been through. But this was, okay, he had no idea that coronavirus was coming, but this was on a different matter, but obviously it still affects the economy. And he was talking about this last year, that in the next 18 months, this is what you're going to have to be doing in your business. And I think it's just such a quick way of summing up what everyone should be doing right now in their business, rather than sitting back and trying to be reactive to things. But Tom Ferry, yeah, it is. So we need to try and find the link to that and share that. So I'll make a note actually, and I'll send it across.
And I think I listened to that. He said it again in his recent podcast.
Yeah.
Row.
Yeah, it is a good story. So I'll dig it out and I'll share it in the comments when it happens. But no, Tom is very much about energy. He's got some great guests that he has on, and just look at what he does. Consistency, 3-4 podcasts a week, videos galore coming out. He's just got it planned, and I'm sure he's very busy, but he's also very successful. So does that not leave clues? Do the work, and the rewards come for it. So, and I was listening to Les Brown this morning, so I'll probably get this the wrong way round. So be prepared to do the work now, so that you can have the things in the future that other people can't have. So, and there's never been a better time that we can do videos, we can do podcasts, just strip the audio off, whack it onto SoundCloud, so it puts it all out there, and you'll be amazed. People will listen. People do listen to the stuff.
It is, and Michelle's obviously listening, and Michelle was a guest last week, and we talked about consistency. And you look at all the material that Michelle consistently puts out there the whole time. And if you ask Michelle, what's her one secret, it is that C word. It is consistency. It is getting it done the whole time and making it happen, which is fantastic. So that was Tom.
Yeah.
What about NAR? How did you find that?
Yeah, NAR was good. I thought I'd never been to a conference because it was done into kind of like little sessions, wasn't it, of 20, 30 minutes, and maybe somewhere a little bit longer. So you could pick and choose what you wanted to do, and what you wanted to really drill down into, whether or not you just wanted to go down the social media route, if you wanted to go down the training route. So David Knox, he was exceptional.
Yes, he was exceptional, wasn't he?
He was absolutely brilliant.
So again, just for people watching this, hello, Gareth Southgate's joining us. Oh my word, we have got the England football manager watching today. So thank you, Gareth. give us a wave. Shout out for the boys. Exciting, they're all back into training. But again, if you want to follow somebody, go onto YouTube, look at David Knox. And again, there's a podcast with Rick Rushton, and that he has on his, trying to think what they're called. Andy Overman, you can remind me about the Rick Rushton podcast. But again, he interviews, I think it's episode 11, David Knox, and there's some great stuff in there from him. So yeah, he was exceptional. Michelle, consistency is key for me. Yep, 100%. And how else? What else did you find about the NAR?
So NAR, if I'm honest, is not a patch on Arek, but there was still plenty of lessons to learn. But David Knox, that whole buy sell, the whole buy sell card that he kept on rotating when he was meeting with the vendor. So
yeah, say that again, because I think my Wi-Fi went and I missed you.
Okay, so he had the whole buy sell card that he kept on flipping over. Obviously, you've got to be quite confident to do that in front of a potential vendor. So they're kind of like, he gives the value on what the price is. So let's say it's £300,000, and they say, well, we were hoping to get maybe 350. Oh, so you want to stay then?
Yeah.
So stay sell, wasn't it? Stay sell. So you want to stay there, and that kind of thing. But again, he was very good. But Gary Vee talks about it. He's like David Knox is the equivalent of like a wartime general. He's been through the different markets, and he's got a lot of value that he can provide to people. Equally as much as young whippersnappers out there, they've got lots of value that they can provide. But he's been and done that. So there is some good dialogues in there. Please don't ask me to remember exactly which dialogues they are, because I haven't got any of my books with me for that. So
which dialogue was it, Luke?
But no, he was engaging, wasn't he? He was engaging. So, and again, I think this comes back to other people. Again, this was something I listened to on the way in this morning, and Les Brown said about it. The best trainers, the best speakers are the ones that can get across and make the most impact in the fewer words. And the likes of Josh Fegan, the likes of Tom Panos, and like Tom's got that phrase, why use 1,000 words when 10 will do?
Yes.
Definitely.
Okay, and then Arek. I mean, I thought Arek was absolutely fantastic, incredible
Superb.
Experience. The agents were the speakers that we listened to were exceptional. I know we were a bit exhausted the first day, and don't think we took a lot in, and the second day it got a lot better.
Yeah.
But the value was us, apart from those Chucky dolls scaring the living daylight out of us, was actually going to meet the agents. And one that stuck out with me was John McManus, who I know has just actually gone back to McGrath, but he was the #1 agent in LJ Hooker. And I think from memory they had 600 odd branches, so he was pretty exceptional. But what I found was the discipline, and Michelle's favourite word, consistency they had all the time to do the prospecting. I mean, they were like machines of people we spoke to out there, weren't they? And their vendor care was done before 7:30 every day. Yeah, which I'm sure there's people watching this thinking, no, how can you do that?
Yeah, I mean, you'd be, and I think in a lot of branches, you'd be lucky to find anyone, the lights being turned on at 7:30 in the morning over here. But again, that's that whole shift. And that a lot of them were calling their vendors daily, not weekly, not bi-weekly, not monthly, not quarterly, not as and when they've got a viewing, but daily they'd be giving their vendors an update. And we ask ourselves, well, how do they get their high fees? Well, there's a clue. They're giving their vendors regular updates, so they're demonstrating that they're worth that money, letting them know that we're on the case. They've got their finger on the pulse with what's going on with the market, the interest levels, and to react to it.
Definitely. Okay, so let's come away from training and thank you. And I know you've got a training plan in for your guys as well, so they regularly, or your troops, your soldiers, you're regularly doing training with them to constantly improve them, constantly get better. One of the things that I think you're absolutely phenomenal at is the community work. That you've been doing. You set up Love Wixton, Love Obi, which has done incredibly well. You've just done your own face mask, which has got Love Obi on there. Because like me, you're frustrated the amount of face masks that end up on the floor as rubbish, which is absolutely ridiculous. And you're asking for a donation for local charities, which is incredible. And I know that you've also, I think it's Loris. Is it Loris?
Yeah, so we do a lot with Loris, which is a local hospice. We've not been able to do as much this year because a lot of it's event based. So it has been tricky, but we'll certainly make up for that when we can. Rainbows, which is a children's hospice. So, and thanks to Sean Adams last year, dressing up as Buddy the Elf. Because we do Santa's Grotto. So again, this is a great tip for any agents out there. If you have local kind of street fairs, Christmas night switch-ons, why don't you offer to host Santa? Mince pies, mulled wine. What are we known for as estate agents? Taking photos. So why don't you do a photo? And the amount of properties we now go to for this. So take a photo, send it to them in the post with a photo frame that says Merry Christmas. It's got your logo discreetly on it. We've done magnetic versions. It's on the fridge. It's kept up year in, year out. I was doing a viewing the other Saturday, property in Oadby. I looked at the fridge and there's the photo frame. So it's great. And to get the public asking, oh, are you doing Santa again this year? You've got to be deeply. I think Matt Nichols' phrase is rooted in the local community, deeply rooted in your community, because without your community as a business, you don't have a business, in my opinion, and we've all got that kind of morals obligation, I think, to help keep those communities going.
So for people watching this that maybe aren't as rooted in the community that you are, Luke, what advice can you give them just to get started? Where's the best place to start?
Well, just do one thing. Don't think, oh, I've got to suddenly do 10 things a year. Just do one thing, and if that's just one thing a year, so schools, for example. So schools are always crying out for careers days. So when they've got a careers day, they want local businesses to come in. Well, go in and talk to them about what it is to be an estate agent. That could be at primary school age, that could be at secondary school age or upper school age. So careers days, school fates. Schools are always, and again, it's going to become more and more prominent now with funding maybe being cut in the future with schooling, but the PTAs obviously want to help buy books and things. Go along, I don't know, perhaps someone wants to chuck a wet sponge at an estate agent and dunk it. You might be inundated, but it shows that kind of humility stage, and even buying dressing up clothes. So we've got Olaf from Frozen, we've got Mr. Tumble, we've got a Minion, we've got Pikachu, we've got, oh gosh, we did have Scooby-Doo. So we have those, and you've got characters to dress up in. That's good fun, and have those at those events, and just do a raffle, even if it's just a raffle of local produce. So go down your local high street, support your local businesses, put it into a nice hamper, do a raffle, sell tickets at your school fete, maybe do the dunking of the estate agent or something like that. And you do it once a year, and just start with once a year, but it'll get infectious and you'll be doing loads.
Fantastic. Videos. So again, we touched on it. We touched on you being in Australia 11 o'clock at night, you getting noticed there, which was absolutely incredible. Again, people on here that are really struggle with just getting started. Again, and we spoke about Tom Ferry earlier. again, if you can't find him for whatever, put in the comment section, and I will send you Tom Ferry's podcast from this week, which is about 5 things on social media that you should be doing. So if you can't find it, put in the comments Tom Ferry, and I will send that to you as well. And he gives some exceptional ideas, and there's exceptional stories on there, you know, and he was been using video for God knows how many years, ages and ages and ages. So
I think he kind of dates back to 2006, 2007 for video.
Yeah.
And he was saying, and this is what he talked about at the summit last year. He said, back then I was telling everyone to do video, and back then I was telling everyone that video was going to take off, and last year I told everyone that video is going to take off, and you're still not doing it. So there's plenty, but we know that's the way that it's going. So do you want to be the equivalent of the Blockbuster when you're left behind? Because that's my biggest fear. I don't want to become the Blockbuster of estate agents because we didn't embrace video or Matterport tours or something like that. And I think everyone's big, and it was certainly it's what everyone's going to say about. You're going to get the nasty comments. You're going to get someone, I don't know, resharing it and laughing about it on Bookface and that kind of thing. But don't worry about it. That for every person that's going to hate it, and you won't get, you very rarely will you get the comments. There's going to be a lot more people out there that are going to get value from it, and it's the people that you're there to help that are going to get the value for it. So, but again, just as going off at a tangent for training, anyone that hasn't seen Bob Wolf, so if you YouTube Bob Wolf and his AREC talk, so it's publicly available on YouTube. Set aside an hour, just sit down with so this guy's what, 65, getting on to a 70 maybe.
Incredible energy.
He would outperform your 21-year-olds in a state agency. But again, there's some good value in there. But Bob Wolf on YouTube, and you'll learn loads with it. But no, back to video. Just do it, and don't worry about doing fancy titles. No one really reads them. So just put it out there, put it up onto YouTube, put it onto Facebook, and you'll gradually get the hunger for wanting to do better. And then as soon as someone says, yeah, I saw your video and that's why I've come to have a look at this house. But it's just something, whilst we were doing this podcast, this Facebook Live, I thought, you know what, we do all the intro videos. So we do like a little selfie video outside properties. Let's just give it a try of just ripping the audio off all of those, put them onto a podcast. Someone can subscribe. If they're walking to work and they want to buy a house, would they not maybe want to listen to the new instructions for a minute and a half each? And Tom Ferry talks about that. Would someone not find value in that? Well, yeah, if you're looking for a house. So that's going to be, I'm going to have that done by the end of today.
Okay, so there you go, Abigail. We talk about implementation. Luke doesn't mess about. Sean doesn't mess about. In fact, Sean, when we're going back on the train home from Birmingham on our mastermind, he's already implemented half the things and gets it done. So a couple of final questions, because I'm conscious of the time, and thank you very much for giving me your time today. So 3 non-negotiables for you, Luke, whether it's for you or for your foot soldiers.
Oh, 3 non-negotiables. So vendor reports.
Okay.
So one of the things that we brought back from our AREC trip, and then we eventually had in Josh Vegan. So we had Josh Vegan come in and do a day with us, and we talked about vendor reports. So every week, a vendor should receive a report from us, which I'm happy to share the content of, obviously anonymized. But that report's been gold since we've introduced it. So that kind of gives everyone a breakdown as to interest levels, so portal inquiries, down to people that we've spoken to the performance on Rightmove, to the offers, second viewings. So it's got all of that in a grid, but also key stats like what is the current asking price, how many days has it been on the market, who are their contacts there. So they get that once a week from us in our colours. It's not the Rightmove performance report or something like that. And it's done in a way, and that's so powerful with vendors now, where they're actually saying, well, we probably need to look at price now. We can see it's been on the market for 28 days or for 60 days, and we want to get moving, and we've noticed that no one's actually come to second view. So they're actually seeing that themselves, because they will remember what they see, but sometimes they won't remember what you've told them as well. Obviously they will remember how you left them feeling, which is that whole kind of Tom Panos phrase, which is still relevant. But that vendor report is so crucial, and again, it is consistency. We don't get it right all the time, but we're going to put things in place to make it so that is then automated, that it goes out every day. And that can be whether or not you share it in WhatsApp, you send it as a link on text message, or you send it on an email, or do it to what the vendor's preference is. But certainly vendor reports is a massive non-negotiable.
Lovely. And you're happy to share that, did you say?
Yeah. So I'll happily share that. That's not a problem.
Thank you. So again, comment yes if you would like that. And Luke, very grateful for your generosity as always. And then I will send that. Michelle doesn't mess about. Can I have a copy? No. Blimey. And Gareth Southgate had to go. So thanks for watching, Gareth. We appreciate it. Thank you for the content.
He's obviously got a team talk to go to.
Yeah. Again, he's got to prepare. He's got to prepare for the first game on September the 5th, hasn't he? Can't believe he didn't give us a few extra minutes. So that's one non-negotiable. There you go. Abigail's asked you a question on that. How would you automate it?
So it's probably easier for us to automate it because we've got our own system. So without boring everyone to death, we track it. So the day it comes onto the market determines the day of the week that the vendor should get spoken to or the report is generated. So today is Thursday. So those reports with a little bit of programming will produce themselves on a Thursday. And then they'll create what's called a public link, so the owners can then click on that public link once it gets sent out on SMS. So we can automate that, but there's ways. So I've seen Inspect Real Estate. So Milton, they do a similar thing that you can use. So that can be a way of generating reports. So we're just going with Inspect Real Estate for our kind of like lead management and things. So you could use it that way. Ultimately, you could just rely upon the Rightmove guide, PDF it, and drop it out onto WhatsApp. But it can be automated. It just depends on what system you're using. If you've got the control like we have, then it can be automated quite easily for it. But if it's going to help your vendors and help you command a better fee and get your vendors sold for a better price quicker, then it's part of the job that we should be doing.
Okay, lovely. So vendor reports is one non-negotiable. You didn't think I was going to allow you to get away with not naming the other two, did you?
No.
Despite the fact that you're incredibly generous.
Yeah. So for me, it's an early night. I can't survive past 8 o'clock normally. Not anyone that does know me will know that I do go to bed exceptionally early, but equally I prefer to wake up early. So normal waking up time is anything between 3:30 and 4 o'clock generally, without an alarm clock. So like this morning, it was working at 4, albeit from home. Jumped in the shower at 6:15, showered into the office, got into the office just after 7. So it's the early night. If I have a late night, it's like, and without drinking, it feels like I've got a massive hangover. So it's just the way. But again, you look at the successful people; they're generally up around 5 o'clock in the morning. So Tom Panos used to talk about the 5 a.m. club, but he's not mentioned it for a while. So I'm sure he's not frequented that membership. But you talk about the successful people out there. Generally, it's the early. Look at Mark Wahlberg; he's up at 2:30 in the morning to do his gym routine. So I'm not that extreme.
Not yet, anyway. I know Robin Sharma's written an exceptional book about the 5 a.m. club. Which is a really good book. And again, if you're not following Robin Sharma, he's another exceptional person to follow. And one of his books that I read very early days, The Monk That Sold His Ferrari. That's an exceptional book. Really, really good. Okay, so third and final one
is planning your day. You really have, because otherwise it's that whole day by design or a day by accident. So if you want to have a day by accident, you're like a pinball machine. That ball's just gonna rattle around. Whereas you want to have a day by design. So you may not achieve it all, but at least you've got focus and clarity as to what you want to try and achieve out of the day. And you've just not got to beat yourself up, because things happen that you can't control. And then it's just how you then react to those things. And just like I said, don't beat yourself up. If you can't get it all done, just reset yourself and ready to go the next day.
Phenomenal, thank you. So one final question. If you were starting off again today, knowing what you know now, what would you do differently?
What would I do differently? I would make sure that you've got a scalable CRM that you can influence, and it's the whole. I wish when, like in the early 2000s, there were the resources available now that there are for training, like your Tom Ferry, like your Tom Panoses, like your Josh Fegans, like things like the real estate gym, and obviously the work that you do and things like the prospecting school and asking the right questions. I wish those resources were around then, because when you first get into the industry, your hunger is so intense at that point. Not saying that the hunger's not there now, but you're just so keen and eager. You'd absolutely lap it up. So and so it's just really use those, because there's a lot of resources out there, like the questions and like lunchtime learnings, like the Josh Fegan daily emails, like the Tom Panos emails, like the Tom Ferry stuff. There's so much out there that, and sharing it amongst your team to create that kind of team culture and learning culture. So you can, but don't give up. That it's not going to work from day one. You can't just suddenly go into your team and say, I've seen this great podcast and I think this is what we should be doing. You've got to keep jab, and then eventually it'll click with one, and it'll click with another, and it'll be like a domino effect. But just keep going at it.
Spot on. You know what? There's no excuses. There is so much free resources out there now, and you know, if you schedule it in your diary and make it happen and put it in, and you know, give an hour of yourself, half an hour of yourself every day to self-develop, it's gonna make a massive difference.
Yeah. But equally, I mean, Robert Cialdini talks about that law of reciprocity. So your likes of your Josh Fegans, your Stephen Browns of this world, that are giving all this information for free, and you're taking value from it. At some point, you are going to engage with them. And Josh Fegan talks about it. He said, it doesn't matter if it's in 6 weeks' time or 6 years' time. I'll just keep adding value, and there'll be a time when it's right that customer will then engage with me. And sometimes it is 6 weeks and sometimes it is 6 years, but turn that around and think of that as an agent with your customers. Don't expect that you can drop a leaflet and you're going to get someone's house on the market to sell. You've got to court them, nurture them for a number of years. I mean, that's what you talk about, Stephen, in terms of thank you cards, anniversary cards. We talked about maybe gifts, vendor gifts on the podcast previously, and things, and how you can build that into a bit of a nurture program. But even if it's news articles about what's going on with your local shops, the local businesses, the local market, but just be there to be the information provider and to add value to their lives, and look at it. That's what your duty is, to give to your customers, because you're taking it from the suppliers to this industry.
Brilliant. Luke, you've been fantastic as always. Always so
Pleasure.
generous and giving. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. Please like it, share it, get the message out. Give Luke loads of hearts and loves for his generosity, which has been absolutely incredible as always. Next Tuesday, hopefully, Wi-Fi permitting, Benjamin Brain from Hannells is going to be joining me. And on Thursday, I've got Chris Fitzsimmons coming on. He's an agent in Canvey Island who's got 50% market share, is firm believer in getting higher fees. So please join us then, which would be fantastic. Have a really productive Thursday afternoon and a great weekend, and I look forward to you joining me again on Tuesday. Luke, thanks again. Unbelievable, amazing, incredibly generous, and thank you all. Bye.